These lenses are supposed to be announced next week. Let me show you a slide here. The first one I want to talk to you about is the Canon RF 16mm f2.8, and we know it's an STM. How do we know? Well, this is a leaked image we got, and I was able to read yes, I could actually read that. I zoomed in, and it is an STM. Now, this is going to be announced next week. I don't know if it's going to be announced on the 14th or not, but how do we know? Well, it was leaked from Amazon. Somebody was able to snap some photos, which I will show you later, that actually showed this lens where you were able to pre-order it, and it showed the price. So it's going to have about the same proportions of the Canon RF 50mm, but it's not going to have image stabilization. But wait, there's more. We also have another affordable lens coming from Canon, same time that we're going to get an announcement of the 16mm, and that's going to be this guy here, the Canon 100-400 f5.6 to 8 image stabilized USM. Again, this was leaked through Amazon, and it's going to have a maximum focus distance of 88 centimeters at 200 millimeters and a maximum magnification of 0.41 times at 400 millimeters. Now, if you're going to pair it with the R5 and the R6, you will get 6 stops of stabilization, but if you've got an EOS R or RP, it's going to drop down a little bit to 5.5 stops. And the good news for those of us that actually do have the extenders, and I've got one right over there, the 2x extender, it will work with this lens, so that's really, really good news. But now you're probably wondering what the price is. I know I would be. And so here we are. The 16mm is going to be $299.99 US dollars, a little higher than I thought it would be. I was hoping it'd be down around $199 to $250, but still, as far as RF glass goes, that's quite affordable. And the Canon RF 100-400mm f5.6 to 8 is $649. Now, while I've got this slide up here, Brian, I'm going to pick on you because you're in retail. You probably know the prices better. And Brian's going to give me Canadian prices, but I believe the 800mm is around $899 US, which is what, about $1150 Canadian or $1,200 Canadian?
The 800mm, you're saying?
Yes. And I'm wondering about the 600mm too.
Yeah, the 800 is 1150, and the 600 is 880.
I think my chair's falling down. Let me just, sorry, I'm not slouching. I think, there we go, that's better. Sorry, so how much is the 600mm?
$880.
So probably around $600 US. So let's look at this here. Now the 600mm is f11. Here, you're not going as far as 600. You're paying a little bit more, but you're getting 100-400 millimeters, and you're getting it at f5.6 to 8. Now, a lot of things can go into play here. I love this thing. I've done videos about this thing, and I'm going to have a link in the description down below with this one here. I was just out last night. I shot Jupiter. And I've shot Jupiter many times, but you see, the footage I have, I know I can push it, and I want to push it better and better. So one day I can show you guys the video, and I can show you how well I shot Jupiter. This time around, you can see all the different bandings on Jupiter. Really, really great. I can't quite pull the red spot yet. But also, I was shooting last night at around 8 o'clock to 8:30. Thank you so much for my tea. And it had gotten dark at around, I think it was 7:40, so it hadn't been dark very long, and Jupiter was only sitting just a little bit above the horizon, so you're still getting a lot of that heat rising up, and it was some of the best images I had yet. So hopefully it's going to get colder soon. I'm going to try get Jupiter a little bit higher up, and I'm going to shoot with this thing, and I'm going to love it. But I'm shooting at f22. And with that, you are going to get chromatic aberration. Now, the nice thing about Jupiter, because at the top at the pole, it has a bit sort of blue area where it's got that octagonal cloud formation. So if somebody says, hey, did you pick up on that? I'll just go, yes, when really it's chromatic aberration. Without the 2x extender, I don't get that with this. And that's the thing, that's what I'm waiting to see with the 100-400. I mean, at $650, am I going to get it? The real questions to ask is, Simon, are you going to get the 16mm and the 100-400? Oh, I want to. I really do.
Lenses are it just, I said it earlier, how important I think. Honestly, the 14mm 1.8 Sony lens is making me want to switch to Sony. That lens alone would actually sway me to change brands because it is so nice and sharp on edges. So when you get these new lenses and they're doing great things, and you can get one that's more reasonably priced. That's why these are f11 lenses, because they don't want to be a $25,000 lens that's an f4 or something, right? So
Yeah.
to keep the cost down and come out with these new lenses that are lightweight, primes, small apertures, I love the idea. I think it's great.
Yeah. No, it's, and I got to look, if you've been subscribed and you watch all my videos, you know this about me. It's, it's how the lenses make me feel. And, this guy here, he may be the biggest lens in my lineup, but it's the one that makes me most feel like a kid. The things that I've been able to capture with it. Brian, I always talk at the beginning of my videos saying, shooting live in northern Canada in the remote hinterland. And it certainly looks like that with the footage, but, I frame the camera so you don't pick up the houses around. And really, look, just a secret between me and you guys. I live in the GTA, which is the Greater Toronto Area. It's a city of 5.5 million people, but don't tell everybody that. And I tell you, Brian, I went out there around December last year. You're not going to believe what I saw. I saw beavers, two of them building a dam. So I rushed home. I got my tripod. I got the R5. I put this up on there and I shot it. I went home and I'm going like, oh, what a letdown this is. These aren't beavers. They're imposters. They're muskrats.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and the thing is even with the LCD, I could not see detailed enough, and I didn't have my glasses. I couldn't make out. Although I kind of sensed the tail. I'm thinking like, okay, something is weird about that tail. And it wasn't until I put it in my editing computer I realized these aren't beavers at all, but they look so similar, and I know they're not related. Well, they're related in that they're both rodents. But I've kind of rambled on here a little bit talking about the importance of lenses. And you know what? You don't have to spend $3,500 or $10,000 on a really good lens to really fall in love with this stuff. It's about capturing what matters to you. And for me, it's the world outside. You see now that I've abandoned the studio and I start shooting outside in these different locations because I love it. I love the forest. I love seeing different animals, and I love capturing my son as he grows up in those videos as well. So it's lenses like the 800 millimeter I love, the 100 millimeter f2.8 I love too, but it's my photo. I turn into a photographer with that one. The 24 to 105 f4.
It sound like a bad thing.
No, not at all. But you see what these lenses do to me, and you can tell it does the same to Brian too. And you know what? I would like to take this opportunity to give you guys a chance to tell us some stories about a lens you had or have, and how it made you feel. And Brian, I'd like you to run with it first because you started me on this path.
Oh, that's awesome. A lens that I have
Or had.
Okay. Well, my favorite lens of all time is this old school 2485D Nikon lens. I love this thing. It's got macro, so I can zoom into 85 mil and literally be like an inch away from something. One of the things that I get very frustrated with is when people don't understand what lenses actually do. Compression, stretching, foreshortening, getting shallower depth of field by zooming in, moving in close, opening the aperture, not just aperture, right? Being able to control your visual by using your lens correctly. So this 2485, I use this for all my light painting. I use it for so many different things. But the fact that I can zoom into 85, get in close, and still shoot at f4 gives me the ability to, within a very small range when I'm doing light painting, control depth of field ridiculously well. So I can set up a scene where there's a picture of a moon like here, and there's a little wolf right here. There's a moon. Where am I here? This way. Moon, wolf. And they could be literally this far apart from each other, but the moon could be completely out of focus and blurry because I'm able to get focus here and blur here, being able to zoom in and do all these different things. So a lens like this 2485D, you can buy one for $200-300, and it's sharp as a tack. It focuses quickly. But this one's special. This one actually has a little chip in the glass, and I love that. I know it sounds really weird. I named my gear. So camera is the Schwartz, my D7100. My infrared camera is named Herschel because Sir William Herschel discovered infrared light. My Sony Alpha is named Matilda because it's an Ansel Adams story. Anyway, long story short, this one here is named Chip. So I get to use Chip all the time, and if I get him aimed just right, I can get that sun hitting that chip and creating a really cool lens flare, and I've become purposeful with that in my images. So when you learn your lenses and you understand the difference, for example, a 14 mil Nikon fisheye compared to the 16 mil fisheye, this is rectilinear corrected. It's going to be straight edges. It's going to be nice and sharp. You can take a picture of architecture without the bowing curve, where the other one is smaller, lighter, and cheaper, but you get this completely bowed image. So understanding the difference can make is the difference between an artist and somebody who just likes buying gear.
Yeah, and you don't have to be, a professional artist. I named my channel very specifically. I really like the everyday dad, and I thought that's cool because, no matter what he does, he's dad, and he's an everyday dad. He's just a regular guy. Although with this channel growing so much, he's becoming a little bit more than just the everyday dad. And I didn't want to copy him, but when I thought about what I did is, I make videos, and, we used to call them films, but now we call them movies or videos. And I thought, ordinary filmmaker, I really like that. Now, some people said to me, you don't want to be that ordinary. He's not that great. And I said, that's the whole point. I'm setting this up as that I'm like you. I'm not this great Spielberg or George Lucas and how he started. I mean, George Lucas, you go watch his first movie, American Graffiti, and just incredible the talent that man had. Everyone thinks Star Wars, but go back and watch American Graffiti. After this, watch it. Trust me, you're going to enjoy it. It's a great, great movie, film. See? Interchangeable. And, it's... I'm almost getting too emotional here, but it's these lenses really do change how we go about things. And yes, I'm ordinary. Now, I have gotten better. And yes, I have the R5. Not everybody can afford that. But this is where when you give me super chats or when you watch or if you buy a hat, ordinaryfilmmaker.com/merch hat, or I get reviews for stuff, this helps me put money back into the channel so I can buy this stuff and I can show you what I as an ordinary person can do and deliver. And, it's acting like that 11-year-old. Remember when you were 11 or 9 and you were just amazed by everything you came across, but you had grown enough that you started to comprehend how amazing everything was. Now with that, speech is definitely not the right word. I should use some of my British mannerisms and just say diatribe. But let's go on to James. And James, if you can tell us a story about how a lens or an experience with a lens, current or past, or future, if you're clairvoyant enough.
No problem. I'm not clairvoyant. That's definitely for sure. So you'll lose a lot of money if you try to take how I'm going to predict the future. I'm going to talk about this lens right here. This is the Helios 44-4M. This is one of these old Russian lenses that I've got a little adapter to Canon EF glass. I bought this after watching one of Armando's videos, but I just remember one time I was listening to another YouTuber, and he was doing this challenge, and he basically was challenging himself to basically shoot something, but use a very certain limitation, and it could be any limitation. This time, and I did his challenge as well, and basically I shot on my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera using only this lens, and I got a friend. We went out around downtown Philadelphia and just started shooting with it. And this was and there was a couple things it was just one battery, just this one lens. So I had to shoot what I can because for those of you that are not familiar with the Blackmagic Pocket cameras, they drain quickly. But the image, as old and vintage as you could get one of these for like 50 like $55 US. There's the bulk there is a lot of flaws, but that's what makes this thing so unique and so beautiful, because the bokeh are very like very distorted, but it's such a beautiful distortion. There's a beautiful swirl with this lens, and it's just, it gives such a dream-like essence. Like if you get a chance to be around a bunch of lights where you can just create a devil and get the bokeh, it's some of the most beautiful images you can get out of this lens. Now you got to be very, very careful in terms of lens flare, because does this thing flare up harder than some. Well, no, this is a family friendly channel. Let me stop. Anyways,
or as Bob Ross would say, these are accidental opportunities. Everybody remember Bob Ross, the painter?
Oh yes.
But
happy accidents.
Happy accidents.
Yeah,
Yes.
happy accidents. But yeah, anytime I want a chance to just go out and just create a dream essence and want to just something that I was like, oh, this would be nice little remember. I bring this lens because it's just something that I can toss. It's easy to go with, and it's some of this has probably been some of the images that I've got off this lens that have not only just I've fallen in love with, but inspired me, and I love that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, I'm feeling it too. John, it's all yours.
Yeah,
you have the floor.
Let me just make sure I'm not muted, because I had some background noise and I muted myself.
Sorry,
for a minute.
with John, I can't hear you.
Very funny. No, I mean, as one who is like migrating from the EF to the RF, I'm discovering like new lenses in the new architecture. You know, in fact, I just, as you know, I just bought the 100 2.8 and the 100 to 500. You know, and I love both of them. I haven't shot either one a lot, but my last video, I touched on those, my experience with those, and I really captured some images and video, for that matter, that I would not have been able to get with anything else that I had up to that point. So I'm really very much leaping into and embracing like the new lenses and such. Although with my relatively limited funds, unless I get a million subs out of nowhere, I'm not going to be buying anything more anytime real soon. I'm looking. I got a photograph that's on my wall as I'm looking across from me, and I really like everything about it. This is one I shot with a 60D and what the heck was it? 18 to 135 kit lens, and I like everything about that image except the chromatic aberration, which is horrible. And I wish I could go back in time and take it over again. I guess I could go back to the location and take it over again, but it wouldn't be
the same.
Quite the same. So I as I've gotten along, I mean, I understand like a lot of the nostalgia about old lenses. I've got a camera that that I got from my dad that's like 60 years old. I haven't shot it in about 30 years, but I have it just to have it. It's an old Kodak. I forget what the model of it is. And it's a wonderful looking piece of machinery, but and even as a film camera, it wouldn't take images anything that I would really put up or even print anything bigger than 4x6, frankly. So I mean, I really am kind of really getting into the new stuff, and I am gradually starting to look at some of my older EF lenses as I get into the RF stuff. But my funds are not unlimited, so I have to be careful about what I get and why I get it. But the 100 2.8 is like amazing in terms of 1.4x magnification. I mean, I'm pretty much like I shot some B's or whatever, like maybe about an inch or so away from the front element. It's I'd never been able to get that close with anything before. So these things I'm really looking forward to be able to do with the 35. I have the 35 1.8, which is a really good all around lens. It's my main video lens now. And it's probably the only prime lens I'm using regularly, though. I'm looking at that 16 2.8. It looks intriguing. Especially for low light photography. I don't do much night photography, but but night or blue hour shots could be pretty good with that lens. I know
Definitely
you and
will
I
open
had
things
chatted
up.
about that offline in terms of whether it would meet your needs, because you were looking for like a 16:1.8, and there's not anything like that in Canon's architecture, even in the EF mount. So we have to see what we can get.
If you like this video, well, stay tuned. I've got more of them coming. But keep in mind, this is a pre-recorded segment from my weekly camera news live show, which is every Friday between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And if you like covering the news and if you would like to collaborate, well, then join me live Friday nights where you can ask questions and interact with the panelists. And panelists cover a range of the camera industry. We have photo experts and video experts. We have camera news or industry insiders. And once in a while, I have some guests from other channels such as Jordan Drake or Dan Watson. But again, thank you so much for watching The Ordinary Filmmaker. Please don't forget to punch that like and subscribe button, as it really does help my channel grow. We'll see you again soon.